Good evening. My name is Helen Anthony. I'm the councilwoman for Ward 2 and chair of the Committee on Finance. I'm calling to order the regular meeting on Tuesday, June 6th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you read the roll?
Chairwoman Helen D'Antoni,
Present.
Vice Chairman Juan Pichardo, Councilman James Taylor,
Here.
Councilor Sue Enderborn, President, Councilor Miguel Sanchez.
Present.
We have 5 present, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. And I would like to recognize that we have Assistant Mr. Eddie here joining us. We also have Councilwoman Harris, who is here joining us, and we have our first player in Cuba. So thank you so much for coming. May I have a motion to take out of order agenda item number 2?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Anderhoff, seconded by Councilor Charter. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, so we are going to welcome Mr. Winston.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to have you stand and we're going to swear you in.
Understood.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your full name for the record.
Paul Winster.
Thank you so much. Have a seat.
Thank you,
And
Madam
thank
Chair.
you for joining us. If you wouldn't mind giving us, just because you've been before us before.
Yes.
We had a very lovely hearing with you.
Thank
But if you could just briefly go through your background and the applicable background to the job you're now doing.
Well, for everyone here, good evening. As I had said when I was before this committee in the past, it's an exciting time. So my name is Paul Winster. I consider myself a student of the science of human resources, and a little bit about my background. I've been in the human resource and business operations field for about 10 years. My education has been solely focused on the concentration of human resource management and development. I have an MBA from Fisher College in strategic leadership with a concentration in human resource development. My bachelor's in sciences and human resource management. I currently hold 3 national certifications to human resources career, and hold every designated U.S. certification for human resources, that being the SPHR, PHR, and APHR designations. In my human resources career, I've worked in a variety of capacities, from consulting for a variety of different business fields, with a concentration in talent development and talent acquisition. I have found myself into the public sector, where I most recently served as a chief human resource officer for Chickasha, Massachusetts. I am hopeful that in my communication and your assessment, I welcome any questions that you may have. But I do think that in my time here, and in being brief, I've done a lot of learning about Providence and what this opportunity means for the city. And I may be biased, feel that you've selected the right person for this job, but I welcome you to make that assessment. And in doing so, my objective is to further modernize and professionalize the Department of Human Resources. So thank you all for having me this evening.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to start by saying we were most impressed with, I think we were on the job 7 days, is that right before you presented the budget, your attention, and you had quite a level of detail, you covered a lot in that, and had obviously worked hard on relationships. And so, we're grateful for that. So
Thank you, Madam Chair.
with that, I will open up the committee for questions. Yes.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you, Mr. Winspear. It is, I mean, as Chairwoman already said, you're obviously super qualified, and it's amazing to have you here. My main question is, what brought you to Providence? Like, why are you here?
I think so. In my assessment of new opportunities, I was very careful in where I thought I would go next. Getting to learn about the opportunity that this position was in for the city of Providence, I found it hard for me to not be interested, to be honest. It's a large and diverse and beautiful city. It is one that has had a series of different chapters, and I think this opportunity in form is seeking, and I believe from my assessment, it needs someone to help drive it forward. And that collection of assessment is what piqued and continued to pique my interest. In meeting with this administration, what I have learned is that this mayor has a vision, and I support that vision. And it's a big vision, but in human resources, strategic planning is important and mission and vision statements mean a lot. And if, you know, if the vision is to have the best run city in America, I think that I can contribute to that, which has continued my interest here today.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, Councilor Pritchard.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wasn't here and I wasn't privy to your presentation of the budget, so welcome.
Thank you.
I've heard great things about them so far. Just a couple of questions in reference to the city that you have worked on. You worked in Massachusetts for Chicopee and other cities?
So
Similar size like ours?
I worked for Chicopee, Massachusetts. So I served in a number of capacities in the human resource department. I last served as chief HR officer.
And how long? During that time?
I was in Chicopee for almost 5 years.
5 years? And as the director?
I spent half my time as that in that
So
position.
about 3 years?
I'd
As
say
a
just
director of
about
human resource?
a little bit less than.
Awesome. You mentioned about modernizing and filling in or creating this strategic plan and modernizing the workforce here in the city of Providence. Can you speak to what does that look like in terms of its people and different directives?
I think in the efforts of modernizing how human resource serves, I believe that there's a lot that an HR department can do for any business, more particularly an organization of this nature. My endeavor is to highlight the gaps that may exist and the opportunities for further improvement to develop what will be a formalized strategic plan for the Department of Human Resources. In doing that, I want to be able to speak and contribute to the bottom line. Now, we are a department that serves people, that works for people. In considering that, I think it's important to understand not just the what we do, but the how, and to provide transparency in how we get to the end goal that we have. And this can be in form of in many capacities. If that's improving the how we stand on talent acquisition, how we work towards training and development, and some of the, and while I can go on with other functions, what I have learned as I put my ear to the ground, as I say, and I'm starting to meet with the leaders here to know what the need is, it's how do we form a plan to answer the call? And that is, what is it that the workforce wants from the human resources department? Because we are in the business of helping people help people. Once you have the answers to those questions, you identify where you currently are as a unit and what that gap is, and you develop a strategic plan to bridge that gap. You know, the needs analysis that I have mentioned. What that looks like, particularly here, will form over time. To give you the exact answers of what that looks like here today, I'm not equipped to, and I don't think anyone that would sit before you today, given the time period, would be able to tell you the exact answer. But what I can tell you is that I'm working to give you that answer. And in time, I will develop a formalized strategic plan that is tangible, that is legible, that you can see. So it provides a bridge of transparency to the work that we plan on doing and why to best serve this workforce.
Thank you very much. And just one thing.
Yes, go ahead.
I look forward to that. One of the things that you hear often as in the community, but also servicing from the city government perspective to the residents, it's sometimes the customer service approach, right? And so I look forward to seeing that plan, or at least that development over these next 3 or 4 years, where government is much friendlier and much customer service oriented towards our constituency. So thank you very much.
Of course, if I may, I think you can add to that. And I think in the addition of that, it's how do we involve the community in the work we do in all capacities, or the capacities to which are applicable. One of the things I did take the pleasure of taking part of when I was in my past employment, I know you've asked questions about it, was working with the Commission on Disability, which is a community-based committee of volunteers that work with us on matters as it pertains to regulation for the Americans with Disabilities Act, and making sure that there's acceptability to the work that we do for our employees and for the community. And having that bridge gap, the chair, Al Kendall, made many successes in my time in Chicopee. So I will be interested to learn about how we can work to engage the community and to work to engage the rest of the workforce. And that is, you know, staff, executive departments, and council, like
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Their counselors, committee members, counselors, anyone? All right,
Motion
yes, we would like to have a motion.
to approve the meeting. Second.
Okay, the motion to approve is made by Councilor Pichardo, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.
Wonderful. Right. Madam Clerk, if you please read item number 1.
Item number 1, resolution authorizing approval of the following contract award by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with section 21-26 B1 and 5. Waste Management of Rhode Island, option 1 year, Department of Public Works, $8,872,775.
Hey. Chief, Brett, thank you for joining us. Where are you in? Oh, thank you so much.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your title.
Courtney Hawkins, Chief Operating Officer. Participant Bay, Director of DPW.
Actually, now, Director of the Finance.
Thank you so much for joining us again. As everyone knows, this was continued from our last meeting. I really appreciate you coming back.
If anyone would like to see a video of my 9-year-old singing tomorrow, hot off the press, we can do that. after.
Yes, good. Table this first.
Yeah. We must.
Number 1 tonight, the agreement for residential solid waste and recyclables collection between Waste Management and the City of Providence. May I have a motion? Markets exhibit.
So move. So I think.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Pichardo, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. All in favor? All opposed? And I think as we had asked for this contract, I really appreciate you bringing it to our committee, and we're going to open the floor to you.
I don't have further testimony outside of what we provided last time. I think you'll see in the contract, the terms are consistent with what we presented. The one note I'll add is the deputy director did provide me with a draft RFI at the end of last week. So as I committed to this group, we are going to move that procurement quickly forward, including time to get feedback from counselors about how to improve the service. In the meantime, extension is warranted to ensure that we don't have an interruption.
And if you wouldn't mind just highlighting the agreement that we have, because since we just had it written before us, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So the contract has 2 1-year options. We do have to come back before you if we want to exercise the 2nd year option for your approval. The pricing went up just under 15% over the option year that was in the original contract. As I testified to the last time we were here, the vendor did not agree to move forward with that option. So our only recourse was to renegotiate new terms. We do have the option to separate out bulk if we wanted to, but in the first year, it's our goal to just work really hard to move forward, to maintain a level of service, hold the vendor, I think, more accountable than we have in the past through the terms of the contract, which in the original agreement do exist, and then work together to improve the way we approach trash removal in the future.
Excellent. Questions? Committee members, yes, Councilor Anderson.
This is a dumb question, but I'm asking it anyway, so please indulge me. This chart on the 2nd page.
Yeah.
Where we have 343, 500, 310, 250, 80. How does it total to, like, what are we multiplying by to get to the total?
Those are monthly costs.
These are monthly
So
costs,
it's
okay.
times 12.
Oh, sorry, I missed the word. Sorry, my bad.
It's okay.
Yes, Councilor Pichardo.
Maybe you mentioned this, but, so under this contract, we are foregoing 349,000.
That's right.
Can you just,
So that was a fund that was negotiated under the last negotiation for mattress program and some education. Unfortunately, the previous administration did not use those funds. And so through this negotiation, we did pull out some of the money that was in that fund specific to cart replacement, as much of it that was allowed. But the remaining money has basically expired. And part of the terms of this extension was that we would forego that access to those funds.
How much was the fund?
In total, don't recall, somewhere over 400,000, but I'd have to follow up with you.
And no deal to at least split it, right?
I
Maybe we
tried.
can do some, the other, well, there's still time. Try to get some money.
There's no more time.
Come on, director.
The next steps with the RFI process will be. Yeah, I mean, I shared at the last hearing, like our costs as compared to other cities and towns per household is very low. And so, and this vendor hadn't received increases to cover their costs as cost increased during COVID. So, from a bargaining perspective, there was not a ton of leverage for us to use. And, in fairness, this money had been available for several years and not accessed. So, we've got to actively manage our vendor contracts, in particular ones of this size, to ensure that we're getting the levels of service and that we're delivering on, these other kinds of pieces of the contract.
The April 1st date, when
Yeah.
we should exercise our extension and
Yeah.
why that time?
We have to give them notice.
Is it like-
Um,
Yeah.
So
6
for
months, 12
transition,
months?
it would be April 1st to June 30th would be the transition period, it would. I've transferred big contracts before, like we're gonna, if we are going to exercise the new contract option with a different vendor, we're gonna need more time than that. That's why we're gonna start immediately on what that procurement looks like.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Handelbaum.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Just one final question for me is, who will be actively managing the new contract going forward? Is that Director Poinvade or Deputy Director McManus or?
It'll be my team. So we've already had meetings on the books where we have gonna have a standing bi-weekly meeting, I believe, making sure that we're keeping track of those data points that could lead to ways of getting more out of that contract. And just kind of holding more accountability, having more eyes on it and really holding, managing the contract.
Yeah.
Keeping people accountable.
Thank you.
And in follow-up to that question, that we can, as a committee on finance, keep up on those updates with you. So how would you best report back to us on I'd like you to give some thought, and if we need to, some time to think, we need to know how it is, and we can make sure that we're checking base with you to make sure that these contracts are being managed and that we're updated so that we don't end up in a situation where we're not managed and we don't know.
Sure. I can commit to providing updates, how regular, what that cadence looks like. I need to think about it.
Think about it and just.
I don't want to bombard you with stuff you don't need to know about versus, you need to, the things you do need to know about. So.
I appreciate that this contract is really a priority for us
Mhm.
and has been, and so maybe we could just work out that schedule.
Sure.
You can come back and present to us occasionally and let us know, you set that reporting schedule, but we would like to be out of it.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes. Councilor Campbell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And I was gonna ask the question that you asked, so thank you, Councilor Hamilton. My only question, so what are some things that we can do to hold waste management accountable in the next year?
There are penalties in the contract as it relates to their performance that haven't been assessed. And so we're going to be looking, as the director stated, to collect the data, review that and assess those penalties accordingly. So in my mind, like vendors in general, they, if you're the squeaky customer, you get the highest level of service. So unfortunately, like you have to be on top of those kinds of metrics. I'll be honest, they're not, like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money, and I would like to see those performance metrics negotiated differently when we procure this again. But, you know, it is our obligation to ensure that they're meeting, you know, the terms of the contracts, and if they're not, to put them on notice and collect for that. And that's true for a number of our contracts, and so I'll be working with all of our departments to identify the ones that are the biggest. And ensure that we have the right structures in place to be able to manage them.
If I could, the other half of the, you know, we have this team that we're putting together that we're gonna meet internally every other week to go over, you know, how's it going, how, you know, all the various aspects of the contract. We're also gonna set a regular meeting with Waste Management to let them know that we have eyes on it. We're keeping, you know, we're keeping track of it. We're gonna be managing this differently than maybe they've been used to in the past. So that hopefully that relationship will lead to, you know, a better outcomes.
Just Angela, when is the article going on? Did you say it's
I
drafted?
have a draft in my inbox,
Right.
so I think we need like a little time to finesse it, but I would be comfortable committing to. I would say by the middle of July.
Great. I'm Sanchez, I'm sorry. Questions? Anyone else? We have a motion. Motion to approve. We have a motion to approve agenda item number 1, seconded by Councilor, made by Councilor Ingerblaw, seconded by Councilor Pichardo, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you coming back. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. May I, motion to adjourn? Yes. If we don't have that, I think motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ingerblaw, seconded by Councilor Sanchez, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You all on this side. Yeah, that was definitely.